Hi all, a new day and new stories from Ocean Story. Just listen to this story. My daughter told me a horrible story about it. We had gathered in a cafe as usual on a Wednesday evening. It's a family tradition that dates back to when Penelope graduated from university. My daughter has been married to Luke for 4 years. 6 months ago, Penelope gave birth to my grandson. My daughter has always had some health problems, but before her grandson was born, these problems didn't bother my daughter so much. After the birth, Penelope began to feel pain in her abdomen. The doctor who examined Penelope said that she would need to take medication and eat only diet food. I was very upset and supported Penelope as much as I could. After giving birth, Penelope spent 1 month in the hospital. All the time, the whole family visited her in the hospital. So when a few months passed, Penelope decided to tell me the story. 2 months ago, Luke's parents celebrated their wedding anniversary, so they invited my daughter's family to the party. Luke's brothers and sisters were also there. Unfortunately, my husband and I were not invited to that event. Penelope said she told her husband's parents that she would take some food from home for herself because she needed steamed vegetables. When Penelope and Luke arrived at the party, there was a big table with lots of food on it. As it turned out, her boyfriend's father used to be a professional chef, so cooking is an important aspect of his life. But my girlfriend's boyfriend's dad, I'll call him Jaden, was a chef in Mexican cuisine. Although there are a lot of dishes with octopus, Jaden only cooked meat dishes that were fatty and very high in calories. That's why my daughter bought her own vegetables and cooked them at home. So when Penelope was at the party, she didn't regret cooking everything for herself. Penelope said when she and Luke arrived, they were greeted very warmly by Luke's parents. They then sat them down at the table and finished preparing the meal. Penelope tried to ask if they needed help in the kitchen. Jaden personally said they were almost done, so you can sit back and relax. Half an hour later, everything was ready, and all the guests came to the gathering place. My daughter went to the dressing room to touch up her makeup. At this time, someone removed the container with my daughter's food. When Penelope returned, she could not find her food. At one point I realized I had forgotten my food on the table before I left, so I had no choice but to eat a few salads and hope that my stomach wouldn't hurt. When the celebration started, Jaden brought out his specialty dish and made everyone in the room take a piece. It was a stuffed young pig, a special recipe from Jaden's late mother. My daughter said she tried to say no, but the guests started begging her, so she took a small piece out of politeness. 40 minutes after eating that meat, I felt very sick. I ran to the restroom and sat there for 10 minutes. When I finished my business, I smelled a strange odor coming from the trash can in the restroom. As strange as it was, I looked in and saw several pieces of toilet paper that contained the remains of my food. I was just a little bit teary-eyed, so before I went out to see the guests, I was curious to go to the kitchen. Among the dirty dishes, I saw my container in which I had brought vegetables. The whole puzzle came together for me. I just had to find out who was behind it, Penelope said. I went back to the table and continued to celebrate with all the people. When the party was over, I went up to Jaden and asked him, "Why did you do that?" Jaden said, "Daughter, what are you talking about?" I told him, "Why did you throw away my food and make me eat your food?" Jaden said, "You must have had a lot of champagne, so you are imagining things." I answered him, "When I was in the restroom, I found the remains of my vegetables and their sauce on the toilet paper. So you're going to explain what happened?" Jaden said, "I need to go walk people home." Then I told him, "Jaden, I found my container among the dirty dishes in your kitchen." Jaden turned to me and said, "What were you doing going through my stuff?" I said, "I just wanted to be sure of what I was looking at." At this point, Jaden started to get a little angry and said, "Well, what happens now that you found someone's leftovers in the bathroom? You ate delicious food, and that's the most important thing." I answered, "It doesn't even matter that I spent half of my time in the restroom." Jaden said, "What do you want me to do? Admit that I threw away your food?" "Yes, I did, but so that you could eat delicious food. Not the way you eat when you call." I told my boyfriend about this later, but he said he was very happy because his dad cares about me very much, and he wasn't even upset that I felt bad all evening. That's the story, Mom. When my daughter told me this story, I couldn't believe that a grown man like Jaden would do such a thing. I wanted to call him and tell him what an asshole he was, but my daughter asked me not to. I don't know how to react to such situations and what to do. Maybe I'll get some valuable advice in the comments. Riley, that's just crazy, not a concern. I'm sorry, but caring is when you're asked. If you want a piece of meat or a salad, that's caring, not when food is stolen from you out of your sight and you're made to look like a fool who forgot food at home and now you're going to eat food that you don't want to eat. Jaden has no respect for other people at all. It's important to him that everyone in the world praises his talent, even at the expense of his own health. I'm sure Jaden didn't know what your specific problems were. Imagine if you had some kind of allergy or acute liver pain from eating meat. Sometimes even medications and pain relievers don't help with such pain. So Jaden did a very bad thing, and he should apologize to you first. But it sounds like Jaden thinks he was doing a really good thing for you and you didn't appreciate it. I'm so sorry that your daughter went through such a horrible experience. Zoe, am I the only one who was annoyed that Penelope's boyfriend didn't defend his girlfriend? It's like your dad deliberately threw away your wife's diet food that the doctor prescribed, and if Penelope had eaten a piece more, she could have been taken away by an ambulance. But Luke said, "Look, my dad is just really caring, so he just wants you to eat his specialties, and nobody gives a shit about your health." If I were your daughter, I would have thought twice about which side Luke was on. Maybe something worse would have happened because of Jaden's guilt, and his son will say, "Well, my dad wanted to do something good, so we shouldn't hold him responsible. And I think it's my wife's fault for taking the food." You have to stay miles away from assholes like Luke. Even if everything is fine now, in the long run, everything will be bad. Nora, it was necessary for your daughter to tell publicly what Jaden did. Then his reputation would have been justly punished. I can't think of anyone who is that strange. I wouldn't care what my guests eat. The most important thing is that I have set a nice table and no one will go hungry, but your daughter's family is very strange. I would advise her to get out of there, because at this rate, it's not far from the grave. My next story. I've been in a relationship with my girlfriend Lily for over 6 years, and yes, we still haven't gotten married. My girlfriend has a son of her own, Dylan, who turned 12 this year. My girlfriend's ex-husband still sends financial support to his son and tries to be a dad to Dylan. I can't say he's doing a great job, but they have a good relationship. In any case, Grayson does not yell at his son and does not punish him for all sorts of trifles in a cruel way. Grayson has joint custody of Dylan and takes him to his home every 2 weeks. In fact, this schedule is convenient, and I don't have to go and pick Dylan up from his dad very often. As for our friendship with Grayson, it's not very good. Grayson and I just greet each other and have a few words about the day, and that's about it. I'm fine with that because I don't have to pretend to be interested in talking to Grayson. As for the relationship between Lily and Grayson, everything is simple. They talk to each other solely for the sake of Dylan, but sometimes I think that Grayson hasn't lost all his feelings for Lily, even though he has a new wife. My girlfriend said that she and Grayson broke up because he didn't think about his family at all, and it was more important for him to spend his time with his friends than to be with his family. Over time, their relationship became hardly family, so Lily filed for divorce. I concluded that Grayson is only now feeling guilty and wants to make amends, but it's too late. My girlfriend said she would never want to be with a man like Grayson again. I respect my girlfriend's choice and support her. Although divorce, even from a man like Grayson, is not a happy process. So now that everyone is clear on what's going on between us all, I'll get to the story. Dylan was very depressed that week when I picked him up from soccer. I tried to find out what was wrong with him. Dylan said he just didn't feel well, but I realized that wasn't the whole story. We got home and I went into Dylan's room and asked him sincerely what was going on with him. Dylan asked me if I promised to keep a secret. I said that I would have no problem with that. Dylan sat down a little closer to me and told the story. When he was changing his clothes after soccer and going to wash, the other boys started laughing at his body and organs. Dylan doesn't look very fat, but he is a little bigger than the average kid his age. Dylan continued that he tried to ignore the boys, but they started throwing sponges at him and telling him that he was a big pig who had mixed up the place where he should wash. Apparently, the boys meant that Dylan belonged in the pigsty. I told the kid that his partners were just small and stupid, so they behaved like freaks. Dylan, you shouldn't be upset about your body, especially if someone thinks you're different. I like you no matter what. Maybe you should have paid more attention to exercise in your training, but no one has the right to make fun of your body and say you're a pig. Dylan thanked me for supporting him. Finally, I hugged him and said, "You are not disgusting or a pig. You are my son, and I will help you through this." I immediately sat down and thought of ways to solve such a difficulty. After all, after training, you need to take a shower right away. I thought that I should buy Dylan special swimming trunks that he wouldn't have to take off when he was swimming, and also buy him some dark t-shirts so that Dylan's body wouldn't be covered by the water. I told Lily that I would take Dylan with me tomorrow to do important things, and she didn't mind. The next day, we bought everything we needed from Dylan, as well as a few extra things. At the end of our shopping, I received a message from my girlfriend that Grayson wanted to talk to me urgently. I replied that I would talk to him a little later. An hour later, I called Grayson when I was sitting in the car alone. Grayson asked what I had done with his son today. I told him that Dylan and I had gone to sports stores to get some things for Dylan. Grayson said, "I was told by Lily that my son was in trouble and he came to you. Is that right?" Then I started telling the whole story to Grayson. He got very angry and said that I should have given all the information to him so that Dylan's real dad could handle the situation. I apologized to him and said, "I would have loved to tell you, but Dylan asked me not to talk about the details to anyone." Then Grayson lost his mind and started saying that I was nobody to his son and had no right to solve his problems. It was the real dad's job. I realized that there was no point in arguing with him, so I just silently agreed. When I went inside the house, I told my girlfriend why I had called Grayson. Lily was very surprised that her ex started talking so rudely. In the following weeks, we received messages from Grayson that he would sue Dylan from his ex. Grayson also wrote me that I was an asshole who started thinking too much about my importance. When Grayson took Dylan to his place, he didn't even greet anyone. He just took his son to his place. I don't think I did anything wrong for Grayson to have such an overreaction. Maybe I should have told Grayson about this situation. Eleanor, don't you dare think that Grayson is more worthy than you. Just because Grayson is Dylan's dad doesn't mean you're an empty space that should be left out. You are also Dylan's dad, and you have every right to help him. Since you and Grayson are no longer married to Lily, you are on equal footing. To be honest, Grayson should be thanking you for taking care of his son and not being a typical stepfather who doesn't care about his kids. Because that happens very often, but it seems Grayson has no honor and does not realize that he is not the only one who has the right to help his son. You shouldn't be upset by what that asshole said. What matters is what Dylan and Lily think of you. Levy, I don't think Grayson did the right thing when he allowed himself to yell at you. You were trying to be a doting father to a boy who is only 12 years old. I think Grayson was upset that his son didn't come to him. That's why Grayson created this drama, to humiliate you as a father, so that you would stop paying attention to Dylan. Your girlfriend's ex must have very low self-esteem and have problems in his life if he behaves so horribly. It's like if you helped someone because they asked you right now, and then some dude comes in 3 hours later and starts yelling at you because you helped a person and he was the one who had to. There is almost zero logic in this, and there's no need to look for it. We can all agree that Grayson is a complete asshole. Hannah, what does Grayson even do to call himself a dad? I understand that he sometimes gives money for his son and takes him to his place. But should that be the end of fatherhood? Your girlfriend has more influence over Grayson, so have her talk to him about his behavior. After all, with such an inadequate reaction, Lily has every chance of depriving Grayson of custody of Dylan. If Grayson wants to be a normal person, then he should have an adequate reaction to events in which he did not participate. The author of this story is a hero, and my respect to you, a story that really surprised me. I live with my 5 brothers and sisters. I am the middle child in the family and share a room with my brother. I have often complained to our parents that we need to add a few more rooms because we live in a timeshare and have so much space. Moreover, my dad has a good job and earns enough money. To make it realistic, living in the same room with my brother is really shitty. I'm always exhausted listening to his whining. I also feel uncomfortable that I don't have a separate space other than the bathroom. Sometimes I get up at 5 in the morning to be alone for a while. My parents say it's not important, that we have 2 more separate rooms, but I assured my dad that I would go crazy if I shared a room with my brother all the time. My dad said he would think about realizing my request. Right after my birthday, when I turned 16, my dad started construction on our property, and it wasn't just extra rooms. My dad started building a room for a small sauna, and he promised my mother that he and his brother would build a small room for her so that she could do yoga every morning. I started to think that they would finish their small rooms and take care of our rooms. But 3 months passed and nothing was done. Rather, my parents built everything they wanted for themselves, and my other brothers and I were forced to sleep 2 in one room. When guests came to visit us, we had to sleep 3 in one room. I started to hate family holidays. When 4 months had passed, I asked my dad when he would start building the rooms. My dad said, "Son, I have to fix our garage right now, so it's a little later." I was very upset by my father's response, and my little sisters were even more upset. The next week, I started reminding my parents often that our rooms were very cramped. To be honest, I had given up hope that my parents would drop all their plans and start building rooms for their children. I felt bad that our parents were doing everything for themselves, and we, as children, had to wait. I even called my grandfather and complained that our parents did not care about our comfort. My grandfather scolded my mom and dad several times for thinking only about their own needs. In a way, it worked, but my dad started making empty promises without specific dates. Although when he was building a sauna for himself, my dad said it would be ready in 2 months. A month after everything happened, my father came up to me and said, "Son, winter has already begun, so you'll have to wait for the new rooms. But I promise, as soon as winter is over, I will start the construction process." I said, "What's the problem if I go to live in a sauna so I can have my own room?" My dad yelled at me and told not to bother him with such stupid questions anymore. I think my parents acted very selfishly. It seems as if my mom and dad think of us as the last thing on their minds. What can I do if I am only a teenager? Victoria, your parents are acting in a very disgusting way, and it is immediately clear that they put their children in the background after their own desires. I don't know how else you can get your parents to start building the rooms. Maybe it would be a good idea to keep telling your grandfather that you all need rooms. I'm sure your parents will listen to him sooner or later. But it's very strange that your father was more interested in building a sauna for himself than in building rooms for his children. Your father has probably never lived in the same room with someone for years. If he had lived with someone for at least a year, then your dad would have realized that you need to have many rooms for children. Otherwise, it's very difficult to love being at home when someone is always bothering you. Madison, why doesn't your mother appear in the story at all? You also have to look at the actions of your mother, because she also took up your dad's time, and it was because of her small house for his that an extra room for the children was not built. I don't think you can do anything alone. It would be nice to have a rebellion with your sisters and brothers. For example, refuse to eat until your parents definitely set a date for the start of construction. I'm sure this method would work very well, because no parent wants their children to go hungry, because this can lead to excessive weight loss. And as a result, people will start asking questions about what is happening to the children in this family. At the very end, your parents will have serious problems. But this method is for the most extreme case. You should negotiate with your parents on other terms. Carter, my parents thought the same way about our needs with my brother. First of all, my dad thought about his car and spent all the extra money in the car. My brother and I could never have quality things because my dad cared more about his car. And my mom didn't even tell my dad that it was bad. He gave her money and she spent it as she wanted. It's really disgusting when your parents treat things better than their own children. Don't worry, it will all be over soon when you go to university. But for now, be patient. Next story. Now I am 24 years old and live with my boyfriend Owen in a small house in my uncle Wyatt's yard. My uncle is very kind and has a wife who insisted that Owen and I could stay in their house together. There is not much space, but it is enough for me and Owen. Considering that there are actually two of us, 2 rooms are enough for us. I am now 7 months pregnant and do not go to work because of my condition. Owen and I were planning to get married this year, but we have postponed our wedding until times are better for our family because Owen is currently working at a job where there is an average income and it is not enough. I have some savings, but they won't last long. My boyfriend is doing his best to change our situation. Owen even works sometimes night shifts at his job. My uncle and his wife don't interfere too much in our business with Owen, although sometimes my uncle's wife comes by to help me a little bit. I am only pregnant, and sometimes I feel like I am disabled. I never thought pregnancy could be so hard. Anyway, I started asking my uncle or his wife Luna to help me with things. Mostly they are not difficult things, but they are things I don't feel comfortable doing. I'm very worried because I have no experience in parenting, so I often talk to my uncle about these topics. Although it is very noticeable that Wyatt is not comfortable talking about such topics. I've never asked him why he doesn't like children, but for some reason he does. One day, I called my uncle to bring me a container because I wasn't feeling well. Wyatt said that he left the bowl in the kitchen last time, so I could get it myself. I told him that it was hard for me to move. Wyatt replied, "Then wait until Owen comes home from work and helps you, because I'm really busy right now." This was the first situation, before our relationship deteriorated significantly. When my boyfriend came home from work, I told him about what my uncle had done today. Owen said, "I guess Wyatt was really busy and couldn't help you." I said, "That's very strange. Wyatt hasn't been this angry before." The next week, a similar situation arose and I called Wyatt again to help me bring a big bag of clothes to their house. Because only the house has a washing machine, my uncle's response was the same as the last time. I was very upset and waited for my boyfriend. When Owen heard it happen for the second time, he went to talk to my uncle. Inside, Owen saw Wyatt lying on the couch watching a movie. My boyfriend asked that Wyatt leave for a few minutes to talk. In the conversation, my uncle told Owen that he just didn't want to help us because he was already doing so much for us. Owen said, "I thought I could rely on Mr. Wyatt while I was away because my girlfriend needs help sometimes." But my uncle became more aggressive and said, "Boy, me and my wife gave you a home and support when no one else did for you. And now that I've refused to help you several times, you're telling me what a shit I am. If it comes down to it, I will be embarrassed to ask you for money for living on my territory." I couldn't believe it when Owen told me what Wyatt said. Now we have a little conflict with Wyatt. His wife asked him not to be so rude, but he is still very aggressive. The conversation made me feel very sick, and we had to call an ambulance. Everything was fine, just my blood pressure dropped a lot. I was most worried that Wyatt would kick Owen and me out of his extra house, and I would have to give birth to my baby on the street. Then a week went by, and my uncle finally sent Owen and I a bill for the apartment. I don't know at what point I started to become a problem for my uncle. I just needed help a few times a week while Owen was at work. My uncle is very angry that Owen and I don't seem to appreciate his kindness. I talked to Luna and she said she would try to influence her husband. Maybe we made a big mistake with Owen when we asked to live with my Uncle Wyatt, but none of us could have imagined that things would turn out this way. Grace, my heart goes out to the family of the author of this story. I know how difficult it is for young people to build strong relationships while thinking about their future child. My daughter was in similar circumstances when she first started living with her boyfriend. My husband and I let them live with us because we had a few spare rooms, and to be honest, it's hard for parents to live next to their adult children. It's best when people live separately. This way, unnecessary conflicts are avoided, and no one becomes a debtor to each other. Although your uncle was right in a sense, Wyatt was very rude in a bigger way. It wasn't hard for him to help you. It was more about his unwillingness to do so. You were very lucky with Owen that Luna was so kind and kept trying to resolve the situation. I'm sure if she hadn't been there, you would have paid your uncle's bills long ago. John, I don't understand why you're complaining about your uncle at all. He's on his own territory and he's sheltered you. For a while, Wyatt didn't bother your family at all and let you relax. But over time, you started taking advantage of your uncle. Wyatt has the right to bill you and your boyfriend for your stay. I don't know how long you stayed with Wyatt, but it was definitely more than a month. Let's say 3 or 4 months. That's how much Wyatt spent on your welfare with Owen. Now it's your time to pay him back. Your uncle's wife is very caring, and in my opinion, she shouldn't have helped you so much. But Luna just took pity on you because you're pregnant. Chloe, your uncle is just a cheapskate. He let you live for a few months without bothering you. That's generous. And why did Wyatt's kindness run out after a few requests for help? I don't think you were living with your boyfriend in your uncle's house because Wyatt is so kind, but because his wife was very sympathetic to you and did not allow her husband to throw you out. Although it is very stupid of you to have a child when you don't have enough money to live on. You and Owen should analyze your own mistakes because you would not be in this situation if you had enough money. Now I want to tell a different story. I am 23 years old and live with my girlfriend Lillian, who is a year older than me. After graduating from college, I started working on the internet and do various design commissions. My work doesn't bring me as much income as I could get from a regular job yet, but I believe that I will succeed and become a successful designer. My girlfriend Lillian is not very used to this. She says that working on the internet is not able to bring good money. Lillian often makes fun of me for earning only $2,000 a month when her salary at work is up to $6,000. I always say to Lillian, you are looking at results in a short period of time, but this is a long-term job. Lillian pretends to agree with me, but she never takes it seriously. That week was another month since I withdrew my funds. Once again, my salary was too small. According to Lillian, she started complaining about me to my mom because I am not able to provide for them both. If we had children, then our family would not be able to exist properly, Lillian said. My mom told me to stop suffering foolishly and finally go to any job. I decided to talk to Lillian about this situation, but she didn't even want to listen to me. Lillian started dictating her terms to me. If you don't start earning a decent salary, you can't even think about getting married. I don't want to be with a guy who can't even earn $3,000 when he has everything he needs. I was very upset that no one in my family supported my work. Everyone thinks that I am a child who does something behind a laptop, but it doesn't give any results. I told Lillian not to be upset and that I would start earning enough money soon. The next morning I woke up and saw that my laptop was not on the table. Lillian said that she would not give it back to me until I got a proper job. We had a big fight about it. Lillian thinks that my job will not provide any adequate solutions. She turned my whole family against me. Only my brother supported me. Currently, our relationship with Lillian is on the verge of collapse. Lillian says she wants to leave me soon because my money is not enough for anything. My mom and dad are pressuring me to get a job so I don't lose a girl like Lillian. I told my girlfriend that despite her demands, I will not quit my job at the laptop. Lillian got very angry and refuses to talk to me now. To be honest, I don't understand why I'm being treated so badly. It's like I'm earning money, not sitting on my girlfriend's neck. I have never even asked my parents for money, but still, I am a jerk to Lillian, and my parents support her. Where am I wrong in this situation? Isaac, you are going through a difficult situation with Lillian and your career choice. From what you have described, it seems that there may be some miscommunication and different expectations between you and Lillian. It is understandable that she may have concerns about financial stability and the future, but it is important for partners to support each other's dreams and aspirations, despite the circumstances around them. Gabriel, wow, you're in quite a predicament. You are obviously very passionate about your work and your vision for the future, and I admire your determination. It's a shame that Lillian and your family are having such a hard time understanding your point of view. From the outside, it seems like you are taking steps to build your career, and do something you are really passionate about, even if it takes time to see significant financial results. Addison, in my opinion, it is important that relationships are built on support and understanding, especially when it comes to career choices. You might want to try sitting down with Lillian and talking frankly about your goals and plans, allaying her concerns and explaining your point of view. It is possible that once she understands your commitment and long-term vision, she will be more willing to support you. Aubrey, dude, even though it's a little difficult for you right now, please do. Remember that it's not about making enough money for everything. It's about finding fulfillment and working towards your dreams. If your girlfriend reacts like this, just dump her. Lillian doesn't want to be your loyal support, so let her. You deserve to have another reliable girlfriend